Well, hello and welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, the go-to Scottish NFL podcast made by Scottish NFL lovers for NFL lovers and, well, NFL haters and pretty much everybody else in between. I am your host, Danny McVeigh, and this is our first live review crew pod, and it comes just in time for the final week of the regular season. But before we get into all that action and all the implications that came out in week 18, I've got to introduce you to the best crew of the year. I think this is the elite crew. So, right, first up, the one and only Stu Bell. I feel like we're on loads of pods together. Stu, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, and I don't think we could ever be on enough pods together because I think we work quite well together, Danny. This is the Pro Bowl group. This is us. We've all been selected to the first Pro Bowl team.
The Silver Foxes unite.
Aye.
Right. Shimmer highlights there. Right. Next up is the brownest of Brown fans, the one, the only, Brian Donlan. How are you doing, mate?
Well, I'm doing very well, Danny, because as you can now see, I've actually got the brown braces on and everything. But as we can see, and it's a very careful, wrong hand, mirror, as we have in the background, the wonderfully shiny glory of my not only one championship belt, not one, gentlemen, retained championship belt.
Is that the one with the asterisks next to it?
Hey, you can put as many asterisks in there as you want. Hey, listen, I even ran the numbers, and even if we had put the Bengals scorers in from this week and Josh Allen in from this week, I would still have won by 40 points. So I'm deleting that asterisk and enjoying the moment in the sun, boys.
I still think we should have ran the thing on Madden, like just simulated the Bengals Bills game, just to see what happens. Seeing as I had Dawson Knox and something like 7 Bengals to play.
4.
5. I thought it was 5. No, it was 5. McPherson, Mixon, 3 wide receivers, Boyd, Chase, Higgins.
But one of them left after like 3 snaps, so you had 4.
What a homer. Right, we'll go on the asterisks soon, studs, right? Because we'll talk about the number 1 seed in the AFC. But I've not introduced you, sorry. Last but not least, the super sub, Stud Sterling. That was a nice bit of alliteration for going live. That was not too bad. Managed to nail it. It's happening, mate.
Oh, not bad. It was fun to number 1 seed.
I think Stud is turning into a robot, is he?
Stud just became a cyborg.
Aye.
This is why you can never trust Kansas City fans. You can never ever trust them, because this is how Skynet starts.
And this is also how
Skynet.
This is how live podcasting goes as well. Like.
He's just stealing his neighbour's Wi-Fi. Pay for your own, studs.
Hey, I've got the Ethernet cable in and everything, so it's definitely not the Wi-Fi.
It's the neighbour's Wi-Fi.
The problem is you're running the Ethernet cable 400 yards for another house.
Well,
might take the bins out for them, right?
Right.
Well, see, that's pretty fitting, right? Because I was just about to make an apology for the sound quality in last week's show, right? Given the fact, we're still working out all these wee technical gremlins, as you can see. But I was going to say it was all got to be peachy from now on, but then Studs shows up in August in the tubes again. So well done, Studs. Right, let's move on. We've introduced ourselves enough. Right, we'll get straight into the kick-off question for the week, right? It's Black Monday. NFL coaching carousel is way underway. We've got quite a bit of that we'll talk about later on. But so far, for what I can gather, and this might change as we're middle of recording this, but we've got the Broncos, the Cardinals, the Texans, the Panthers, and the Colts all looking for a new head coach. Lads, put yourself in a head coach's position, right? Just imagine you're Andy Reid, Sean Payton, Zach Taylor, Kevin Stefanski, whoever it might be, right? Imagine you're one of the guys, but you've not got a job, right? So out of those 5, what team would you be most interested in taking over and why? And what one would you completely body swerve? What one you want nothing to do with? So, right, I'll chuck it to you. No, I'm going to Stu first. That's what your punishment. It's your punishment for having dodgy Wi-Fi.
It's not dodgy Wi-Fi. It's my So my MacBook decided to crap out. It's the problem is having a 9-year-old laptop.
Probably an Apple product.
Aye, I mean it works. It works well until they're 9 years old, and then. Anyway, yeah. If I was going to take any team, looking at the list, I'm probably going to take the least sexy option, and I'm going to say I will take the Houston Texans job.
What? Live confirmed on air. Stu loves BDSM.
No, I mean let's take out all. You're a Browns fan. You should be able to separate
there's whips and stuff in the other room, mate. Join the club.
Anywho, my reasoning is apart from the BDSM and the owners probably indulging to Sean in some of that, and letting him away with it until he wanted to leave, then it became. But anyway, we'll get into that another time. My reasoning is
move to that.
Yep. Houston Texans have the most draft picks available to them in this year's draft. Although if I'm the coach, I'm not the one making the picks, but I'm going to hope that my GM is savvy enough to be picking good players. They've also got, I think they're in the top 5 or at least the top 6 teams in terms of cap space available to them for next season as well and moving forward. So I feel that Houston actually have a kind of pretty good setup available in terms of what they can build. So if I'm coming in as a coach that wants to do a Zach Taylor type job with the Bengals, which is walk in whilst they're in this rebound or at the bottom end of the rebound and about to head up, now is a good time. And also the other thing is the South's kind of, apart from Jacksonville, seems to be in a bit of flux anyway. The Titans are falling off a bit. They don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. There's some rumors that Tannehill's maybe pretty banged up and he's getting a little bit older.
Done.
The Colts are obviously one of the other head coaching job options. And I just, as much as, they have a decent O-line when they're healthy and they have some weapons there, I think I would rather just go for the Texans and build from complete scratch and see what I can do there.
Right. Who are you body swerving?
Broncos.
That's fair.
Let's ride.
Let's ride. Absolutely nowhere near it.
Yeah, nothing.
Let's ride. Oh wait.
Yeah. Right, far away. I mean, nothing against Russell Wilson, but he's a pain in the arse. I don't want to have to deal with that dressing room where it's clear that they aren't getting on. And he's there, he's on big money, cutting him isn't an option, and you're also in a division with the Chiefs, who don't go away, the Chargers, who should be better next year, and the Raiders, once they get Tom Brady.
When it happens.
When it happens. Or Jimmy G, one of the two.
Why not both?
Yeah, but anyway, that's me. So I'm taking the Texans, body swerving the Broncos.
Right, who's next up? Who wants it?
Right, I'll go for it. I'm gonna go Colts. I'd go with the Colts. So as a rule, reasonably solid organisation. They are 4th overall in the draft coming up. So decent moves that they can make in the draft. And to be fair, I'm going to shamelessly steal one of Stu's points because it is a good one. Being in that division makes life a lot easier. And I'll be honest, I would much rather be playing the Texans than playing for the Texans. So yeah, and again, I love the weapons. As much as Pittman stung me terribly, and I had so many fantasy shares of him this year, and he really didn't live up to it. He is a talent, you know what I mean? They've got talent in most of their skill positions. So yeah, no, I would roll the Colts. My big body swerve, as tempting as it is to copy Stu and go with the Broncos, I'm going to say Texans. I just think it's a tire fit. I think as a Browns fan, I can spot a failure of an organisation when I see one.
Speaking from pure experience.
Yeah, speaking from pure experience, I think that's. It's how many times do we hear it with teams like the Browns? You know, look at us for. Well, I suppose next season will be the judge, but all the chats, the Browns are a quarterback away. Denver, a quarterback away.
Brian, you've
These
won
problems go way, way deeper than any one player on the team.
Brian, the Browns have won the off-season something like 4 or 5 years in a row.
Oh, aye. We've constantly won the off-season. Fantastic.
It's great winning that off-season championship.
Yeah, aye, absolutely.
Right, Studs.
Listen, the AFC
number 1.
The AFC West, apart from the Chiefs, won the off-season last year. Apparently, the Chiefs were finishing 4th, according to some pundits. Right, for me, For me, and Brian's absolutely stole my answer, you know, but I was going to go with the Colts.
Choose the Cardinals.
So-
Just go Cardinals.
You can go with Colts. On you go. Come on, I want to hear it.
Listen, I'll no steal Brian's answer. I'll be different. I will go the Cardinals purely because if I'm going to get to draft in that mansion that Cliff Kingsbury was getting to draft in, and then if you're getting all these supermodels coming to the games, I'm
Nothing to
absolutely
do with
going
the
Cliff Kingsbury.
personnel. Nothing to do with the fact that you've got Kyle as your quarterback. It's not even a nice bathroom. Not a nice place to sit.
Studs, how
I
are you at Call of Duty?
Hi. Hey, listen, actually, I still went Cardinals. I love it.
I do love a bit of COD, actually. That's a good shout. Me and Tyler could sit in my
I think
room.
do you mean the game or the fish? Because I mean, I know you.
Wait a minute, what day are we? Oh no, it's no Friday, isn't it? Fish on a Friday. We're all right.
I love a fish supper.
But nah, in all seriousness, Cardinals I don't think are as bad as I think they were a poorly coached team, if I'm being brutally honest. Kyler Murray, he has a talent, there's no denying it. You see like that 2-point conversion that he had against the Raiders earlier in the season, that was frightening how he managed to extend that play. He's got that improvisation in him. Game the year before the touchdown pass against the Bills to win the game, he's got the deep arm as well. So you've certainly got a quarterback starting point there, and I just think, for me, I think they were poorly coached. So I would go the Cardinals. Body swear for me is quite blatantly going to be the Denver Broncos. I need to be honest. But talking of not even tire fires, probably the stables going in fire, I would just absolutely not go anywhere near the
full Michelin factory.
That's right. Into the fire.
I am not taking head coach of a team where the quarterback has got more toilets than me. So let's be brutally honest about that. Not happening.
Big thing for me with the Broncos is going to be how much say Wilson has. You know, I mean, you walk in as a head coach, and are you really in charge of that team? Are you really in charge of that offense?
He'll get slapped in. Well, I'll throw in my two bobs worth, right, since we're here. I'm going with the Panthers because I know fine well I'll probably get a 10-year contract, get sacked a year later, not work another day in my life. And I'm all lazy as shit, so I don't mind that. I'm well up for that. So, and avoid.
Is it no bankrupt? The boy, it was declaring bankruptcy. Was he no the Panthers owner?
He's got all smuggled away.
He'll find some change for
that. That one, that's allegedly.
It's the key word, isn't it?
Brian Grant says crying lederhosen, mate.
Hi. It's not all lederhosen, it's a pair of the old braces. You love it, but
it's always Oktoberfest for Brian.
Way forward, man. Listen, boys.
Right, well, let's crack on.
When you're getting slagged off a Bears fan, you've got an issue.
As we've said before,
right. The news, right? Let's crack on because we've got hundreds of stuff to talk about. Right, Black Monday. First news that sort of came out last night was Lovie Smith was fired head coach of Houston Texans. He'd one season there. They finished 3-13-1. But what an ending. That was a great ending to finish your career. Absolutely nailed them out the first overall pick.
They keep doing that. The Texans love losing first overall pick.
You know what? Like, I don't know if you heard him talking after the game, but like, I'm completely on his side because I'm guessing as well, he probably knew he was getting fired anyway. I think it's a bit unfair because we all knew exactly what the Texans were going to be this year. And his statement after the game was all about, look, yeah, we're a bad football team. And yeah, we've lost a lot of games this season, but of course I'm going to go for it. It doesn't matter about the draft pick. Like, how can you tell all these players who've like trained their entire lives, you train, you play to win, you try to do the best you possibly can in all situations, oh, let's just try and lose this game so we get a better draft pick. He's like, I can't tell him to do that. That would ruin them mentally. So I sort of see his point, and mainly for his own pride in terms of, you're firing me anyway, screw you guys, I'm just going to try and do the best I can here. So I'll at least go out on a personal high note. So.
The big thing, to be fair as well, is, you know, as much as we love just taking them out of Texas because they have been utterly woeful all year, these guys are still some of the absolute best in the world at their sport. And you don't get to that level without being insanely competitive and wanting to do really, really well. And that's not something that if you're at that level of sport, you can just turn off.
Agreed.
Nah.
Agreed.
100%
Nah, but
agree with that.
it's the Texans, though. They're a...
This-
Cal McNair's just running them in the ground, doesn't he know what he's doing? Whether Caserio lasts any longer, who knows? What's this? I heard some... Is it true? I was trying to do the maths on it, but I was a bit busy. But is this their 4th year and they're looking for their 4th head coach or something like that? It's just no way to run an
something like that,
organisation.
And they
Rip all
had
up, start again.
Cully last year, Lovie Smith this year. Couldn't tell you who it was before that. Was it no Bill O'Brien for the couple of
Bill
years
O'Brien.
before that? Because he was
Aye,
head coach
it was
and
Bill.
GM for a couple of years.
EOB.
Right, moving on. We'll go into the next head coach sacking. Cliff Kingsbury, done. Arizona Cardinals, we've already talked about it there.
Yep.
Hardly a surprise. I guess the surprising thing about this one was the fact that they gave him that extension to 2027 just 10 months ago, which seemed daft at the time. Although they were showing signs of improvement, I don't think he did anything to deserve an extension.
Nah.
Same way Steve Klein, the general manager, who's also taking a step back for health reasons. But Cliff finishes with a record of 28, 37 and 1. It's not great. It's not awful either. It's not Urban Meyer levels of shit or anything. But
Yeah. I mean, I do understand it's a tough division that they're in as well. And I mean, it was. And as much as this year, Arizona were meant to be the ones that kicked on, and you were meant to see teams like San Francisco take a bit of a step back, depending on Trey Lance's development. And obviously he was injured. So you think, oh, there's another window for them to come in. The Seahawks are meant to be crap. They were meant to walk their way into the playoffs just because of that. But in the end, even with all the injuries and Brock McCurdy being in at quarterback, you ended up with Arizona being the worst of the pile. And well, maybe the Rams, but it's arguable about which one's actually in a worse state kind of thing moving forward. But I would say we'll see how it goes in the offseason because there's a whole bunch of other stuff to happen with the Rams first. But yeah, it's a tough division, but I would still fancy they should have done better in this time. They should have had a better win ratio, even just for games
Stu,
outside the division.
Right? Did I hear you right? Brock McCurdy.
Aye. Brock McCurdy. Aye.
McCurdy.
Brock McCurdy.
That's his Scottish cousin.
I've got a player code.
The Scottish roots.
Do you know what? There's a player called McCurdy that I've got in Retro Bowl right now. So it's just they've combined into the one player. That's brilliant.
Speaking of the Arizona Cardinals, let's just talk about some gaming.
I know,
but
they have had a bit of up and down season. The fact that they D-Hop for the first 6 games, they've had significant injuries throughout. The process. JJ Watt's about to retire. They've had Kyler Murray. There's a new Call of Duty coming out, so he's obviously, he's been told to give him his homework. Even all that sort of stuff was just a mess. That just set up their whole season, didn't it? All that having to backtrack out of that 4 hours homework or whatever he had to do a week or something. It's just daft. Just a poorly run.
Clauses in his contract to make him actually do his job seems a bit excessive.
It's the thing that they then backtracked in that. So, if they were that confident that Kyler had issues doing his homework, then they should just have stuck to their guns and say, look, we back Kyler as a player, we think he's great, blah, 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 but he's not doing some of the things we need him to do so that we can get the best out of him. But they totally bottled it and went, oh, no, sorry, that was a mistake. Right, well, is the boy doing the work or not? And it looks at times like he's really not. But then again, they've been broken all year. The whole Cardinals offense has been in and out with injuries all year.
Yeah, it's not that. I mean, you're looking at what he's had 4 years. He's not made the playoffs once. He was meant to bring in this whole air raid offense for college. It was going to be the next big thing in the NFL. You've seen stop-start for them. I mean, you've seen games where they've looked on offense, have looked brilliant, and then as again, his record speaks for itself. You're seeing games where they're not looking that good.
It's obviously a difficult jump, though. We've seen it throughout the years with Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, Matt Rule. The list goes on and on. There's not a lot of college head coaches make the jump and are successful straight away.
Yeah.
So that's why I was kind of saying, his record isn't great, but for a college head coach to come in is actually one of the better ones. So we'll see. Right, Brian, I'm going to give you 1 minute to start our rant. Okay, you ready?
Get a timer on.
Read it. Don't worry, I'm timing it. Right, so you've got 1 minute. I want you just to rant and get it off your chest. Browns sack defensive coordinator Joe Woods. Go.
Yes! No, like, that's a shame, right? Okay, that is a shame because he's been with the team for a while, you know what I mean? Servant to the club, all the rest of it. But our defense has been a mess on the inside. You know, I was discussing this with some other Browns fans on social media, and it's one thing if you're defensive player, doesn't matter who they are, if they get beaten by a better player, you know what I mean? If you're up against JJ and he does you for speed, he does you for power, that happens. We've had blown schemes and blown coverages all year. That's not players. That's coaching. And it's been all season. We've had no run D at all year. For a team that's meant to specialise in the run, we don't know how to defend it. And as I say, the volume of absolute blown coverages that we've let happen, even at the weekend with Pickens, there was literally no one anywhere near him because it was just completely blown open. That's coaching. That's on Joe Woods. Not that the players aren't all blameless. Damn it, too soon. Players aren't blameless, but it's a good thing he's gone.
You were doing well there.
There you go. I'm happy. I feel better now. I feel better. Thank you.
Right, good. Right, that means that's perfect segue. We can now move into the games, right? Because there was some absolute crackers come up this week. It was all really focus was on the playoff picture. So we'll do a bit of dive in the games, key games for the NFC first, and then we'll look at the AFC games. So first up was the Seahawks hosted the LA Rams. They basically knew that a win keeps them in the playoff hunt. Rams have been eliminated a while ago, so their time as reigning champs comes to a pretty miserable end. But overall, this was a pretty sloppy game, wasn't it? You know, it was tied with 16-16. Myers doinked it for 46 yards in the final play of regulation. And to be honest, it didn't look like it was going to go to plan for the Hawks at all. But what a play by Quandre Diggs, intercepted Baker Mayfield in the middle of overtime. I think there was like 5-6 minutes left. Set up a Myers for a 32-yard field goal, splits it down the middle. Seattle win 19-16. Brian, wasn't pretty, but the Seahawks got it done in the end.
Yeah, they did. It's been a wee bit indicative of the tail end of the Seahawks season. The Seahawks started so great. I think everybody loved the Seahawks at the start of the season. You know, I mean, the Geno fairy tale was fantastic. And then it came a bit unstuck and the offense started to really struggle. And that has kind of been par. And yeah, as I say, the Rams have imploded. Now, don't get me wrong, they've had, you lose players like Cooper Kupp and it's going to have a big impact on you. You know, I mean, they've lost big players all over the team. But even without that, they've really looked a shadow of the team that just a year ago picked up a ring. Even when they made the world's most sensible decision and brought Baker in to save their season and lead them to the promised land.
SOS Baker.
SOS, listen,
well,
that's a TV show I would watch.
Seahawks fans were absolutely loving them for that underthrown pass. It was a great play by Quandre Diggs, but
that was a good play. Yeah.
That was so underthrown.
How long was Van Jefferson waiting?
He's still waiting now.
I think he's still standing there.
Didn't have a great night. I
think that's an understatement.
But okay, let's get after Rams, right? Because they were put in the bin a while ago. We'll maybe talk about their defence and a couple of the plays that actually come up and the ones that affected Geno, considering that he pretty much started the game with an interception, Jalen Ramsey. And he's looked pretty shaky. Now, do you think that is what's causing the shaky I don't know what you call it, form, I suppose, of the Seahawks in recent weeks? Because they have kind of limped here towards the end.
I think they need to give a shout out to Geno though. First and before we start slating him, he's right.
It's coming.
Here comes the bullshit sandwich, right? This is what he's done well. This is what we need to improve. But
sorry, I'll add in some good stuff at the other side of it. If we start with the good stuff, do the shit, and then I'm just looking up some numbers here. Hold on.
But he's, am I right in saying he's the season record holder for the Seahawks in passing yards? So he surpassed Russell Wilson over the weekend. So let's give the guy some credit for somebody that was a career pretty much a career backup. It was expected to, in a rebuilding season, he's done his job for the most part, right? He's hit numbers that Russell Wilson couldn't hit in that offense, even when he had the Legion of Boom at the other side. So I think Gino with an extra game, right?
Another asterisk in there, but let's just anyway.
Ian Keeble's going to be knackered.
This is fast becoming the asterisk show. But not. He has faltered, I think, in the latter half of the season, so I think that is going to cause you concern getting into the playoffs. But again, taking on the flip side, Tyler Lockett, who is an unbelievable weight, the guy he's not
so underrated.
Given it so underrated, 100%. He's frightening when he's on the field, and they lost him for a couple of games in that spell as well. So he's back fit. Broke finger.
Hand injury anyway. Yeah.
His touchdown pass was unreal, wasn't it? Just I don't know who was on the call for that one. Was it Mark Sanchez was on the call, but he just kept on going about how tight the spiral was and how many resolutions in the pod. It's just like, yeah.
The one thing we need to remember, but is that Lockett might be great and he is wildly undervalued, but he doesn't look anywhere near as good as DK with his shirt off.
You're right. That's exactly what it falls down.
But then Lockett didn't try and headbutt guys either with helmets on.
Very true. That is very true. It's a big area of his game that's missing, actually. I've often said that about Lockett's game. He's missing that, a little bit of assault thrown in there just for good measure.
One of the things I like about, or one of the main things I like about Lockett is he seems to be like one of the best receivers in the league at knowing when to go down or when to stay on his feet and keep going and try and break the tackles. Because like sometimes he'll take the pass and he'll just go, it's fine, we're running the clock. I'm going to just hit the deck straight away. Sometimes there's not even a defender even really that close to him, but he knows he's got the first down. He knows they're in good field position. He just has good game awareness as well. So
very intelligent player.
Yeah.
He definitely is. It's kind of guy. It seems as if he's the kind of guy you'd love to have in your locker room as well. I think he's going to be a big locker room guy. But I know very, very underrated, and I think him coming back to full health is only going to help Gino on that front.
Another thing that's going to help Gino is a wee bit of late season resurgence again for Kenneth Walker. He went off in this one again, 29 carries, 114 yards. They missed that. He broke out early doors, started to slow down a wee bit towards the middle half of the year, and if getting into the playoffs, if he can, that was a spoiler there, but if he can really get his game back up, that's got to help Gino a lot as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just going to say one more thing on Gino, just to kind of say to give him a little bit more of a boost in terms of saying his play fell off. I think also with Lockett being out, their O-line had some issues as well over a little while, and the pass protection kind of really fell off. And that meant that people could key on the run game because they knew that Seahawks were relying more on Walker. So I think that sort of went hand in hand with when Walker dropped out. Oh, we've lost the host. Danny's gone now.
This is all going to go terribly wrong now that we've lost Danny.
Right. Here we go. Run in asylum.
Anyway, hold on. I'll keep going with my point here.
Go with your thought. I actually have the show itinerary here, thankfully.
Yeah, but what I was going to say though is, Danny's back.
Oh, he's back. Oh no!
And that's why the Patriots are the worst team that's ever existed in the league.
And we've all agreed.
Anyway, I'm just hitting the end of my Geno Smith thing. So anyway, I was just looking at some. I'm just looking at some production stuff here. So like he's ended up like just in a production sense, pretty much tied with Tom Brady in terms of actual efficiency. And as we know, we'll probably get to Tom Brady later on because I'm guessing we're going to talk about that Bucs game as well as part of this. But Tom Brady's stats for this year out of this world. 45-year-old man still breaking records or whatever as well.
Got me that later, right? Let's go.
Anyway,
Gino's as good as Brady.
Yes.
It was there all along. We just never knew it. Right. So we'll move on to the next game. Next game we have up is the Lions at Green Bay. That Seahawks win basically eliminated the Lions. We know that they were officially out of playoff contention. So it was over at Green Bay at Lambeau Field. All they had to do is win, and they're in. Dan Campbell's Lions had to spoil the party. Aaron Rodgers intercepted by Kirby Joseph late in the fourth quarter. Basically let the Lions run out the clock, win the game 2016, meaning the Packers missed the playoffs. What an absolute killer that one was. Stu, honestly, are you happy that the Packers have missed the playoffs?
I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy because I wanted the Lions to make it. I'm unhappy because I thought it was going to be absolutely hilarious if Aaron Rodgers was to somehow squeeze his way in despite having a totally off year. But yeah, I'm
That's
going to
not
say on the
hilarious. That would have been absolutely awful.
yeah, like I mean, on the whole though, yeah, I'm happy the Packers have missed out because just all year they were up and down, they were spluttering, they were misfiring, they weren't good to watch. Like even when Rodgers was having good games, it just everything felt so broken and just discombobulated. Everyone was disconnected. Like
Sums up this game though, pretty much.
Yeah.
You're pretty much describing it. Their whole season could be summed up in this one performance.
Yeah, I think that. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say that interception, like the Rodgers threw at the end, like
Kirby Joseph.
Yeah, he had to go for it, but we knew it was coming, and that for me summed up Rodgers' season. It's like he still got the arm and everything, but there was no separation, and there was no way that
just try
the receiver was going to get it. Yeah,
and he's going to keep a hold on that jersey. So as it was all Twitter, it's been all Twitter all day. He's keeping on that jersey. So let the speculation commence.
Let's ban. I'm getting no interest in talking about his future. Egotistical arsehole.
We'll be talking about it all summer.
At all.
A big travesty of that game. A big travesty of that game is the fact that it wasn't on at the same time as the Seahawks. Why they scheduled those two games at separate times, I have no idea. So imagine how those Lions players would have felt. They've went out, they've put out a good show of themselves. Won the game and booted out Green Bay, but
that's a fair point, though. The fact we're just talking about there that the Seahawks game came down to a field goal, and you know what kickers have been like this year, the total hit and miss.
Myers whiz during the game.
Exactly. Now put on added pressure. Say they're already getting word in. By the way, the Lions are winning here. You need to go and win. Is that added pressure then in that kick? I'm kind of glad it was prime time though, because who doesn't love watching the Lions?
Who doesn't love watching Aaron Rodgers lose primetime games?
Exactly.
God, poor Liam sat at home listening to this raging.
He's fizzing right now.
He had to be happy for Jamal Williams though, because I don't know if you guys saw the interview with him.
I was going to say
the game.
That was classic.
Brilliant. Yeah.
It's listening to him. It's like I've seen it this morning, and you're sitting listening to him, and you've got goosebumps. He's talking about his great grandpa, and this, that, and the next thing, and then all of a sudden he just completely flips and starts shouting at the camera. It's like, don't be writing us off and going absolutely ballistic. It was great. Yeah. He just flips on.
That was another 2 TDs for Jamal Williams, 17 for the season, breaks Barry Sanders' franchise record for the season. Asterisks.
Yeah, another one. He still tied it in in the regular amount of games, so that's still something.
But I thought between the two teams in this though was just the pure balls of Dan Campbell. Like even the final sort of play of the game, 4th and 1, you're in there 20, 30 yards, what did they do? Go for it in 4-1. It was a 9-yard pass to DJ Shark, iced the game, done. Not a lot of people would have went for that, some of his play call in the 4th quarter was unreal.
That's the thing, though. See, if his first interview when he's talking about biting kneecaps, you knew what he was going to do. There was no danger he was doing anything else other than go for it, and he wanted to win this game. They could have been 1 in 15 getting into this game. He would have still went to go and spoil that party. And I think even in Hard Knocks, you knew that this was going to be what you're looking at for this Lions team. They want to win every game. Don't give a shit about a record. We want to win.
And they were fighting for him, Brian. I don't know if you saw that hooking ladder play. It was kind of, I think, 2 minutes left in the 4th quarter, where it was the wee kind of almost like a shovel pass to, I think it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. He just sort of bats it back to DeAndre Swift. Yeah, Swift, I think it is. Goes for 14 yards. It was 2nd and 7 with 2 minutes left or something. It's just like calling up these plays, just no fear whatsoever. It's just
faith in his players. It's at the end of the day, it's having faith in his players, faith in his team to go out and execute. The Lions have been fantastic all year. They've been great. They've had serious struggles on defense. They've really struggled on defense, but they've not been the bottom defense in the league. They're like bottom 3rd, I think. But offense, they've been electric. It just shows that he does it on the offensive side of the ball. He's got such faith in every one of those players to go out and execute. And you need to give huge credit to everybody's favourite quarterback to take a kick at, Jared Goff. What a year! I mean, he's came out. Who would have ever projected Jared Goff to have the year he's had this year? I mean, he's played absolutely lights out most of the year.
He had that deep ball. I think it was like a 40-odd yard pass to, I was going to say Reynolds, but it wasn't Reynolds. They set up
Raymond.
Raymond. That's the one. Yeah. What a ball. He's got it in his locker. He's just a wee bit robotic, a bit wooden. And
did you see Goff's interview?
Sorry,
did you see Goff's interview after the game, which there was a very thinly veiled swipe at the LA Rams in their fan base, and there when they basically asked him how he was enjoying Detroit and how he's took it into his heart and things like that. He's like, how could you not? He's like, look at these fans, they're still here. I've never had this before. I was like, after all the swipes LA had at him, sending him the other way, no good enough, even though he took them to a Super Bowl. I thought that was a very intent comment, shall we say.
So just to wrap up the golf really, really briefly, just because I'm a wee bit a golf loving. I mean, he's finished the year 6th in passing yards, tied 5th in touchdowns, tied 8th for interceptions, and tied 5th for QBR. He's had an absolutely brilliant year, and it's Jared Goff.
So what do you do with him, though? Well, I guess we'll come on to this in the off-season stuff, but do you sign him up? Do you make him your QB1? Since they have the Rams' number 6 pick, I think they're at.
Yeah.
It's a good position to be in as well. Or do you draft a QB? Do you keep Goff for another couple of years and let somebody sit behind if you think they've got promise?
I think if you have a QB somewhere, I wouldn't be going for one of the top 2 like Stroud or Young or whoever it is that's up at the top of the. This is weird for me as a Bengals fan. Like I'm still not used to not having an absolute awareness of the entire draft. The predicted draft players at this time of year. Usually I've been buried in it like for the last month. But anywho, I digress. Point is I don't think Detroit should draft a quarterback high. If they have somebody they have their eye on that they think they can maybe mold and take like a 2nd round or a 3rd round pick on, go with that. And then I would keep Goff, sign him up for, his contract's not huge. So, I mean, why would you, or it's not like out of this world for a starting quarterback. So why wouldn't you try and extend him? He obviously wants to be there. He works well with the team. He seems to fit in there. And yeah, he's a bit robotic, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's kind of like Jimmy G in San Fran, like over the last few years where there's better quarterbacks than Jimmy G, but Jimmy G's not a bad quarterback and he'll definitely drive your bus for you and keep you going in the right direction.
Right. A few more things I want to bring up for this game, just as a point. Did you see Amon-Ra's catch with his legs? That was up there. That was like the helmet catch or something like that. He's rolling about and it's managed to stuck behind his knees, and I think that was a great catch. It's not bad news for Green Bay. They have an absolute star in Watson. I think everybody's in agreement there. He finally, you could really see the chemistry there with Rodgers. Now, whether Rodgers is there next year, we'll see. But he is an absolute star. Finished this one with 5 receptions for 104 yards. He's got to be a massive player for them. I think he's going to make a lot of fans forget the name Devontae Adams going forward. And biggest arsehole of the week, Quay Walker decides that he's got to try and push a trainer. After the week that we've had, what a bam pot. Just
crazy.
What's he doing?
I know. I saw he'd apologise today, but I mean, it's one of those things where you still did it. You've got a history of making stupid errors on the
I don't even buy his apology. Don't buy it. Have you seen the clip of him going down the tunnel? I've not done anything.
I did nothing wrong.
Is an absolute Wayne. Nah, he's sorry he's been caught. He's not sorry about what he's done. That is like a Wayne.
Ejected for the 2nd time this year as well. That's poor in your rookie season.
Yeah.
I'll query him being thingy of the week though. I'm going to level that one square at Steelers.
Aye. I thought we were going to get to that, like the celebration.
We're going to get to that, right? That's another wee spoiler, right? We'll get to that one. Right? We can get our rage out there, right? Right, let's move on. The AFC Saturday night battle. It was the AFC South. It was basically a winning in for both teams. 8-8 Jacksonville travelled to Tennessee, take on the 7-9 Titans. Was it 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter? Titans were 16-13 up, and I checked this out. They had a 73.5% chance of winning this game.
After
However,
the interception.
Hi.
Rayshon Jenkins, Josh Allen, they had other, and that Jaguars D had other ideas. Rayshon Jenkins, strip sack,
Strip shack.
Yes, if I do say so myself.
Strip shack.
In case anybody wondered what it'd be like if Sean Connery commentated in the NFL.
It was a strip shack on
Jacksonville.
And then shacked him.
Welcome.
I don't have a franchise in Jacksonville.
Allen took it for a touchdown. He went to the house and it went 2016. We descended into chaos here. 2016. To the Jags, they held on, they won the game. Studs, did you get a chance to watch this one, and what do you make of the Jags?
I did. I stayed up and watched this one. I was watching the game before more intently, and then a bottle of wine and a couple of beers deep got me through this one. To be honest, this season with the Jags, they've been fun to watch. They really have.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that on Saturday, and I think it took them until sort of midway through the second half to actually kind of start going on offense.
Didn't realise they were playing a title game.
Aye, it was basically as if, wait a minute here, we've realised we need to actually do something here. I mean, the running game was utter dog shit, right? Now, granted, Tennessee's run defence is good. You
carried out of 19 total yards rushing. There's good and there's good.
Travis Etienne's been a stud the last 2-3 months, pretty much on average, 17 yards. But what was going on? It was just it was non-existent. So if I'm the Jags, there is a little bit of worry in this one. But I think you've got a competent coach in Doug Peterson, straight off the Andy Reid cheeseburger coaching tree, and I think he knows what he's doing. So I would have a bit of faith in Doug Peterson, to be honest. But I would be concerned about that run game, especially coming up against one of the worst run defenses this week. So you want to get that run game going.
It's one of these ones. Do they need your traditional change of pace back? Do you know what I mean? Is that what they need in there? Because hasty isn't hasty. Is not. Etienne is great. He was obviously not getting anywhere. It was never going to be his night. It didn't matter what you wanted to do. It wasn't going to happen. They needed something else to try and establish the run. Now, what did they get? What did they have passing at the end? 212 yards.
200.
They've got something going through the air at least, but it's a 2016 game. It's not like he's lighting them up with big deep passes or the middle either. I've got a lot of time for the Jags. I've really enjoyed watching the Jags this year. There is obviously still a few pieces missing for that team, though.
Is this no still though a good sign of a good team? The fact that you can't just keep on winning blowouts. Like even I'm thinking back to like the 2007 Patriots and stuff. They didn't blow out every game. Sometimes you've got to have these hard fought struggles. You need your defense to step up in a big way. Obviously, as I say, Rayshon Jenkins and Josh Allen have been absolute standouts in defense this year for Jacksonville. They're playing well. You need. You need many tools in your toolbox to get the job done. Is this actually a good sign that they can win in several ways?
I would say that, for me, that's one of the big kind of plus points with the Jags this year as the season's went on, has been the defense has drastically improved from where they were at the start of the season. And they were able to carry them against the Titans, who are banged up and missing people. Yeah, Derrick Henry was back in. And I know we were talking about it in the group chat as well. We're saying early on in the game, it looked like he was having a lot of tough sledding. But what was his final yardage?
107 yards, I think.
107 yards.
109.
109 yards.
In that. It was 3.6 average though.
On 30 carries.
Yeah.
Aye, on 30 carries. It was tough sledding, but the man still put up 100 yards. But no, I would say that if I'm a Jags fan, I don't know if I'm necessarily worried. I mean, the one thing I would say, I mean, if it could be a worry, is this a sign of Lawrence was getting nervous? Is it that? Because it looked like a nervy performance to me from the game when they were on offense. It didn't look like that same free-flowing Jaguars offense we've seen in the, from that point in the season when they were 2-6, like early in the year. It was one of those things where, I looked at the Jags, I thought, okay, they might get to 6 wins or something like that, and this is a good building year from them. Doug Peterson's come in, get rid of the tire fire situation that they had with Urban Meyer. They're heading in good directions, and then they just went on this run. And until that last game, they were looking fantastic. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, that offense looked like the Jags in the first 4 or 5 games of the season, where everyone was a bit like, oh, we don't really know. There's no chemistry with the wide receivers, or sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not.
They say that. The Christian Kirk had 99 yards.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
an underrated season as well, by the way.
I know he has. And
well, I will say, obviously,
he was getting paid too much. Bargain.
I was not one of those critics, because I will point out
you drafted him in like 6 fantasy leagues.
I know he was
Christian Kirk's shares and
hey, I didn't draft him early either. I was drafting him kind of 7th, 8th, 9th round or something like that. So nobody else believed in him, but I thought him and Lawrence could do something. So, but no, I just thought on the whole though, there was something lacking. I mean, whether that was just the run game being absent, but for the Jaguars though, yeah, they're not looking at this saying like, let's win the Super Bowl this year. They're looking at it as, we got into the playoffs. That was fantastic. Yeah. Let's build for next year. If we can beat the Chargers, fantastic. If we do, we're probably going to get pummeled by the Chiefs, and that's okay. They'll just want to run it close against the Chargers, and if they get the win, then great.
Any more than one and done's a huge success.
I just did a quick look at the time of possession, right? So talk about the Chargers now. I do fancy the Jags to beat the Chargers, right? I will say that off the bat.
I will say that too.
But looking at this, Tennessee 36 minutes compared to 23. Now, if Chargers have got a good run game, obviously, and also Eckler. You've got Justin Herbert on that ball. If you give them, and I'm not even, that's before even, Mike Williams is bagged up. Keenan Allen, probably one of the best slot receivers in the league, one of the best possession receivers in the league. You give those 3 guys 36 minutes in possession, and you give up that much disparity. I don't care how bad the Chargers defense is, the Chargers are beating you.
Yeah,
so for me, they need to figure that out.
Because they're running the ball so much, though.
Yeah.
They're just running the ball, keeping possession, running down the clock.
You're right.
That's what happens when you give Derek Henry 30 carries.
Yeah.
But then Eckler will be able to, for me, Eckler, as I said, good running back in there as well. The Chargers could go down the same route for them. Don't get me wrong, as a play caller, I trust Doug Peterson more than I trust Brandon Staley. But as I say, I could talk myself either way in the Chargers and Jags game. I really could.
Right, we'll move on though. Right, Jags get to. We'll unfortunately discuss this next game. Since the Jags sealed number 4th in the AFC, that 4th seed, 7 seeds up for grabs, and come 6 p.m. Sunday, it was basically the Patriots were in the driving seat. They were 8-8. Basically, all you've got to do is beat the Bills in Orchard Park.
That's all. Only the Bills.
And then you're in the postseason. It was always got a bit of emotional experience, obviously DeMar Hamlin events were all happened last week, 3s were out in force, a lot of emotion about the place, and it just went off in London at that very first play. The stars aligned, Naheem Hines
stars aligned twice.
Well, we'll come to that part, Brian, mate. Don't give me all the spoilers just yet.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start with yard 1 first.
But to be honest, the Pats pretty much fought hard and they stuck around for a long, long time in this game, but just at the end weren't good enough. Special teams let them down, and the Bills won this one 35-23. What would you make of this one, Stu?
I mean, it didn't start very well for the Pats, did it? Is the main thing. So I think it was kind of written in the stars right from the word go. The Bills came into it, obviously completely fired up. Hines returns that first touchdown. For the Pats, though, to be fair to them, they did put up a kind of pretty good performance. I thought Matt Jones was excellent. The touchdown toss for your first score, and then when you were keeping it tight, that was absolutely excellent.
Yep.
The thing, and then you obviously had the interception before halftime. Because I mean, what was the score at halftime?
I think it was 14-14.
14-14.
Yeah, it was.
So it was tied going in at the half. So you look at that and go, if you're Belichick in the Pats, you're thinking, you know what? We're hanging in here. We've got a chance. We've been doing damage to them. Josh Allen's thrown an interception already. You know, we've maybe got a shot here. And then I think second half starts. They go up 30, or Pats go up 13-10 because they get the field goal.
Yeah.
Then from kickoff, they return, kick the ball back to them, and here comes Hines again. And that was so, like, from that point on, the Bills just seemed to be able to stretch it when they had to. And yeah, the Pats made it close again towards the end. But I mean, I think it was the result we all knew was going to happen before the game. It was just down to how up for it would the Bills be, how shocked were they after the Hamlin incident, and was it going to throw them off their game plan? And it didn't. So the Pats went down. For the Pats, though, it's like, I would say your play's been a bit up and down this year, but it's still
more down than up.
More down than up, but it's not like you're in a terrible place going into next season. So, good draft, good free agency in the summer. Decide what you're going to do with your wide receivers. Push on from there.
Aye, studs. It was always going to be a long shot. The emotion of the Damar Hamlin stuff, was always going to carry them through. And I'd say Bills seem to go a wee bit deflated after which as a Patriots fan I don't like that word, but they did seem to go a wee they seemed to go a wee bit flat after that kickoff.
Don't like that word either.
Offensively, they weren't particularly playing well. They weren't moving the ball well. Josh Allen didn't look his usual self. And then again, the second kickoff return just seemed to spark them into life. All of a sudden, Josh Allen's throwing bombs to Smokey Joe Brown, John Brown, and their Stephon Diggs, and really kicked him into life. And that's, to me, that was the team. That's that playoff or Super Bowl contender sort of team there. Do you think that was studs what they needed? Do you think that it was always going to happen? They were going to have a bit of a lull just as emotions kind of ran at them and then kind of spark them into life?
I don't know how you could have an emotional response to this game, considering what those guys had went through in the Monday night. And as much as I was, and I'll be open about this, rooting for the Patriots to win, because it would remove that asterisk, as we were talking before, on the Chiefs number one seed. But I don't know how you couldn't have an emotional response. And for the opening touchdown to be that kickoff return was just, it was lovely to see. Do you know what I mean? And then listening to Josh Allen's interview as well. And I think he mentioned something about it being 3 months. What was it? 3 years and 3 months or something. There's a link to the 3 for something that happened
3 years
in this
and
game.
3 months.
3 years and 3 months.
Kickoff return.
There we go. And it was just the stars definitely aligned for them. I do think the Nyheim Hines, the second one, the 102 one, decided to go a couple of extra yards just to really piss on the Pats parade.
We may in the middle.
just to make it a wee bit harder. It wasn't easy enough. I'm going to come for the end zone this time instead of coming for the 5. But I think you actually, it might have been you, I can't remember if it was your Scud in our chat, actually says Pats beating the Pats. And I think when was the last time you can honestly say that the special teams in the New England Patriots have let them down?
Ranked apparently 32nd in DVOA this year, which again, honestly, I've never seen a team punt as bad. There's punt coverage, absolute everything. Kicking's been okay. Folks been okay, but yeah, this team. I was actually really keen because defensively we played well in this game. Mac was throwing the ball a bit. He'd found Jacoby Myers with that lovely toe tap at the back of the end zone. It's like,
that was beautiful.
That was lovely.
This is getting a wee bit more interesting. This is the team I'm home to see. But again, just 3 phases of ball. We just can't bring them together for one solid game. There's always one part that's letting us down. If it's not the offense, the defense, maybe cough up some plays. So, as I say, I'm as a Pats fan, you always want to see your team win, but I'm kind of glad this team's in the bin, and I don't really need to talk about them anymore because I just get all upset and
you don't want to watch yourself get hosed in the season.
Exactly. Right, so let's move on, right? Because there's no point talking about them. So the Pats, basically, if they were to get through, they were relying on the Steelers and the Dolphins to lose. So next up, we'll look quickly at the Browns and Steelers game. Basically,
Do we need
yes, we do. But we'll make it quick.
We'll make it quick.
Quick one.
So the Pats losing obviously could set off this chain reaction of how the Steelers could actually get into the playoffs. All they're needing to do is win, and the Jets to beat the Dolphins. A few weeks ago, this seemed completely unlikely, just given the events and the form. But something changed. Don't know what Tomlin puts in their porridge in the morning, but
I want them all checked. I want them all tested.
It wouldn't be like the Steelers to have a steroids incident, would it? Sorry, man, back in the 70s there. But no, basically, Tomlin was sitting 8-8. His non-losing season record was still intact if he can just beat their AFC North rivals and the Cleveland Browns. Browns were already eliminated for the playoffs contention, so they were just out to try and get one over those dirty Steelers. But Derek Watt, 1 yard run, punched it in. Deontay Johnson, 2-point conversion, basically sealed the 28-14 win for the Steelers. Brian, going to come to you first. You obviously had a closer eye in this game than most.
It was mince. The game was mince.
Can you? Can you tell us, for the Steelers' point of view, about what they actually did well rather than the Browns? And say the Browns were eliminated.
Okay, fair question. The refs playing with them. You know what I mean? It turns out if you just try and remove somebody's head entirely, that's okay.
But given who it was, it's fine.
That's all that. The Steelers, to be fair, the Steelers, they did what the Steelers have been doing whenever they've got success. They lead from defense. You know what I mean? Our offense, particularly under Watson, hasn't been electric. We are going through this weird thing at the minute where we seem to be really trying to lean on the pass to try and help him make his name. And the Steelers just went, absolutely crack on. You want to sit and try and pass through us? You go for it. We've got one of the best pass rushes in the league, and we are just going to consistently leather you. And they did. You know, it was epitomized no better than, I can't remember what down it was, but there was a play where the Steelers got not one, not two, but three pass rushers. All got to Watson all at the same time. And it was all of that. So the Steelers played their game really well. You know what I mean?
What was the final sack total, Brian?
Sack total? I'd need to check.
Seven. It's not quite Carson Wentz's 9. It's 7.
Or Burrow last year in the playoffs. That's what I'm saying.
Aye. Well, there you go. There's your stat then for the game. There's what the Steelers did well. It's what the Steelers do well. They are built from defense first.
Yeah.
They have got. Kenny with the tiny hand. He was okay. I mean, he had a couple of nice passes. He had a couple of really awkward ones as well. The run game was fine. Harris was kind of. I find it hard to give Harris a huge amount of credit for last night purely because our run D is that bad. That he did get a lot of, but even against our run D, he still didn't manage to get over 100 yards with 23 carries. So,
but he did give up 148 yards though. Rushing combined, I think it was.
I thought Harris looked all right, and
he looked
pretty
fine.
good, and I thought Warren looked good as well. I think he's going to be a good second punch for them.
In terms of players that look good in the game, the big story going home, and I was messaging about this begrudgingly, it's got to be George Pickens. I spoke about it earlier. We won't go over blown coverages and stuff again when we talked about Joe Woods. You need to take those opportunities, and that's one of the things that does make a good wide receiver. A good wide receiver is they know when they've beat the defense and they know what to go for. It's like we were talking about with Lockett. They know what they can take and then run with it. And early days, you know what I mean, first season or the rest of it, he looks good. He looks like he could be a bit of a special talent, as much as I hate saying that. But yeah.
I'm going to jump in with the statistic of the week.
Oh,
statistic of the week. So my statistic of the week is to do with another Steelers wide receiver who I also thought had a pretty decent game. And from what I've seen of him, he's still had
stats.
Well, not according to the stats, but I mean, I think he's had a pretty decent season overall. But yeah, the stat is Deontay Johnson. He had 86 catches this season and no touchdowns. So that's now the most catches by a player in a single season in the NFL, or in the history of the NFL, without scoring a touchdown. So you've got to think that next year there's going to be a bit of a bounce up for Deontay Johnson.
With an extra game. I'll say it before.
That's true. Asterisks. So Jacoby Myers' record stands undefeated.
Well, I don't think his was a single season, but I think he went something like almost like, was it 1,500 yards or 1,200 yards receiving without a touchdown, which was mental. And then he got it against the Browns. For Bright Hoyer of all people.
You're welcome.
Right. We'll kind of move off with this one, but I agree. A couple of things to note, like I said there. Tomlin's 16 straight season without a losing record. The guy is just
boo.
That's ridiculous.
What a coach!
He's an incredible coach. He's fantastic, but boo.
But
I mean, I need to be happy about it.
But we've got a close runner-up for Arsehole of the Week. Arsehole of the week. That should be a new. We'll put that to Keith.
Get that as a jingle.
Yes. The sack celebration from the shark celebration from the Steelers. Decided to try and give a player CPR on the field.
Yeah.
Talk about absolute tone deaf, man.
I know.
And there's people making like excuses. Oh, they've been doing that celebration. Like, I do not care. There is no part of me cares. You don't. You
like maybe stop and think and go like, hold on, what are we about to do, or what are we doing here? Oh, don't do it.
Even before the game, surely like the guys that have been doing that celebration, they kind of get together and like, look, boys, we're going to leather Watson, we're going to sack him into infinity, but we kind of need to not do that this week. It's no hard, is it?
There's got to be a level of common sense, and that was not there. It was totally classless, totally unnecessary. I don't think it needs any airtime.
No, right, let's move on. The final game we're going to cover. Jets at the Dolphins. This one, basically the Pats failing to win against Buffalo. The Steelers comfortably dispatching the Browns. It was all in Miami to clinch that final spot. Just need to beat the lowly New York Jets, take that 7 seed. But when Tua's still dealing with a concussion, Teddy B's dislocated his wee pinky. It was all on the shoulders of one Skylar Thompson to lead the Dolphins to postseason glory, but actually fell down to the leg of place kicker Jason Sanders, and who nailed one for 50 yards with 18 seconds left. Put the Dolphins in the lead. They went 9-6 up, and then a safety in the final play sealed at 11-6 to the Dolphins. They clinched the number 7 seed. I don't want to spend too long in this game. It was a lot of kicking, not a lot else.
It wasn't even good kicking. Like, you know me, I'm a big fan of kickers, but wow, yeah, this game was dross. Like, we all knew what was going to happen, just with, like you say, Teddy being out, Tua being out, and the Jets also, questionable quarterback play over the last few weeks since White was injured or had the rib injury. So we all knew that it was probably going to be like this. And it was even worse than I thought it was, considering what was riding on the game. So now the Dolphins limp into the postseason, and they need to hope that either Tua is somehow okay to play, or Teddy B's finger is surgically repaired enough that he can somehow throw a ball next week. But
we'll let the review crew kind of deal with that one, but it's not sounding good for Tua anyway.
So the one I'll chuck in with this game, it's the only bit I've really got to add to this game. I'm going to say the whole quarterback situation is a push for both teams, right? The Finns didn't have Tua. The Jets don't have any quarterbacks. They seem to keep trying different ones and getting the same terrible results.
Super Bowl winner Joe Flacco.
Yeah, well, the difference in this is, for me, is Breece Hall being out. Breece Hall's the difference, because you look at the Dolphins managed to rush for 162 yards. Passing yards, there's only 9 yards between the two teams in favour of the Jets. And the Jets managed to rush for 38 yards. There's a difference.
For Bam, I think it was.
So that's it. You know what I mean? How much of the Jet season fell apart when Breece Hall got injured?
Good.
All of it.
That's the way we like to keep it. What's up, studs?
Just want to raise a point that Tyreek Hill moving to the Dolphins, 7 touchdowns on the season. Chiefs backup running back Jet McKinnon, 9. Get it around you, Tyreek. Enjoy Miami.
Not that Studs is bitter in any way, shape, or form.
Listen, I've got to say
that.
That's a signed Tyreek helmet, to be fair. I just wanted to bring that up, the fact that the Chiefs' backup running back had more touchdowns than Tyreek down in Miami.
There you go.
Earlier in the season, I bet you would be shiting it if you were actually going to face them in the playoffs. Because they were looting, they were rapid. Waddle, Hill together, tandem looked unstoppable. They brought in that.
They had a fit tour.
They actually looked okay. They had a fit tour. They were playing okay. No, okay, Armstead, for example, is injured in this. The roll line's been banged up, and they are literally limping into the postseason here. Which again, we'll let the review crew deal with that on Thursday night before the games, whenever that is. Yeah, I don't think there's too much else to say. That Miami finished the season 9-8. They take number 7. Jets finished 7-10. Looked a promising thing. The wheels fell off. The only one thing I want to say about the Jets is, since we're talking about rookie wide receivers for studs, Garrett Wilson has got to be up there. He's got to go
Wilson Prime.
The offensive rookie of the year talk. Would they finish with about 1,100 yards or something like that? That's some going with the junk that's been thrown to him.
Right,
so
exactly.
There's 3 quarterbacks thrown to him this year. So 3 different quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're barely quarterbacks. They play in the position, but let's not carry away there, man. It's a bit of a term.
Right. 1,100 yards, 4 touchdowns. So,
right.
Solid rookie of the year.
There we go. Right, let's go a bit around the league. A couple of games that were interesting. The main one, Colts-Texans. This was a bit of a shootout. Vikings were dispatching the Bears. So if the Texans won, Bears get number 1 seed. Texans go number 2. 58 seconds left. I checked this one as well. With 58 seconds left, the Colts win probability was 97.3%. So, Colts won. 32-31. That was some finish to that game. That was just nuts for something that's just a bit of, again, I keep calling a tire fire.
Yeah.
I think Lovey just sticking the middle digit up and going for 2 at the end just absolutely made that game. Honestly, I totally agree with Stu earlier on. He knew he was getting sacked, and he's just double digit. Nah, screw you guys.
I'm leaving, and I'm taking your first overall with me.
Yep,
exactly.
Yeah, fair play to him.
It was a fun game, innit? Stu, right? We'll jump on to the next game. I'm sure there's a game you would like to talk about.
I won't talk about it for too long, but yeah, the Bengals-Ravens.
Yeah,
Bengals-Ravens game. My main thoughts on it are actually more to do with players that didn't play. Obviously, the Bengals won, and we had a few guys injured in the process. That wasn't nice because that was part of that whole the NFL forcing the coin flip situation on us. Because it would have been nice if we were declared division champs. It would have been nice just to be like, cool, yeah, we've got the home game. We don't need to play. Ravens can rest their starters as well. Let's just let whatever happens happen. Instead, we couldn't do that. We had to play our players. Kappa's now injured. We'll see how that goes next week. But for the Ravens side of the ball, it was interesting to note that obviously Lamar was out again. It was interesting that Huntley wasn't available either. So I wonder if Lamar's already saying that he's not playing next week, and that's why they had to make sure Huntley was going to be okay. Because I know I've been saying this for a few weeks on the pod, but I have the feeling that Lamar is worried about maybe getting further injured and then ruining his shot at free agency or getting a big contract with the Ravens. And every single time they lose a game without him playing, he can just keep going, I am your offense. You need to pay me. Look, you've not put up more than 16 or 20 points or whatever it is a game, like since I've went out injured. Like, you're completely dependent on me. So, and if that's the case, that's fair. I mean, whether he suits up or not next week, we'll see what happens. I mean, either way, he's not played in a while, and he did have knee surgery, so I don't know if he's going to be the same Russian Lamar that we usually see, which means he's going to be relying on his arm. And for the Bengals, I think that kind of almost plays into our defense a little bit because we're pretty good in terms of pass coverage. So that's my thoughts on the game. We don't need to talk about the game itself, but that's my thoughts from next week.
You managed to keep that to like 2 minutes, Stu. I'm impressed.
I like the coin flip celebration. I will say that.
No, that was very good.
Yeah. Well, I'm mixing.
Right, let's jump on, have a wee look at the playoff picture, right? So just run through the AFC first. We've got Chiefs number 1, Asterix.
Asterix.
With a bye. Anyway, I'm moving on.
Neutral venue.
Neutral venue.
Aye.
Asterisk cheers.
Bills number 2.
Invitational.
They're stealing the Arrowhead Invitational, maybe. Well, listen,
Yeah.
the Dolphins might beat the Bills.
Number 2, Bills. Number 3, Bengals.
Asterix Bills.
Number 4, the Jaguars. Number
Jaguars.
5, the LA Chargers. 6, the Ravens. 7, the Miami Dolphins, who we just said there. So why don't we take them, right? We'll look at each side now. So what do you think? Do you guys agree the 7 best teams for the FC made into the playoffs? Stu?
I'll say yes. The Dolphins have obviously fell apart, but if they were fully healthy, they make it into that top 7 teams. The Titans were also guff this year, so the Jaguars more than deserved to be in the conversation and be in the playoffs. Bills, they should be in. So to me, the best teams made it. Steelers didn't deserve to be there, so I'm glad to see they completely crapped the bed and never made it, even though they won their last game.
It's just everything. They definitely like
they crapped the bed over the rest of the season. So best teams are in.
Brian,
agreed. Yeah, agreed. Delighted that the Jags went through over the Titans. And I shamelessly just agree with Stu. I think is the Dolphins are the best team for their position. They've fallen apart because of injuries and all the rest of it, but they are the best of that at that spot.
Studs, anything contrary to add to that? Or?
The one that screams out to me, right? Miami obviously done well, start the season, injuries, blah blah blah. Right, fine, they're in, they've made it. The Ravens, I just don't want to watch the Ravens. I really don't. I think they've been poor. They've second half of the season for Lamar's went out. They've limped into games. They've scraped through games. I don't. But then I'm looking at the other teams available, and I'm like, who would I really say should make it in there instead of them? And I'm struggling. To be honest, I would rather watch the Patriots than that Ravens team.
Because we'll do something daft like a lateral or get up like pick off the turn or something like that. So
many laterals.
Here goes Studs is off.
Studs is going off. He's away.
NFC. Let's talk about the NFC.
No. Hold on.
We don't go to NFC.
A couple of other wee questions I want to ask you, right? Quickly, right? I'll put these together, right? And just quickly give me your answers here, Brian. So, who do you think are the dark horses in the AFC with the teams that's there? And who's getting sort of hot and cold at the same time? Now, we've probably answered the cold part, the Ravens, for example. But who do you think the dark horses are there?
Chargers.
Really?
That's
interesting.
Yeah, would I be massively shocked if the Chargers wind up in the championship game? Not massively. That's why Stud's left and I'm slagging his team.
He gets to listen back.
I want to say Chargers, and then for the team, it's hot and cold. Kind of cold as the Dolphins. You know what I mean? Cold as the Dolphins, and then hot. I don't know. I'm going to say the Bills are the hot team. I see the Hamlin stuff really galvanizing them as a team, and them really. You don't need to do a single team talk with that team for the rest of the year. You know what I mean?
They're just all walking out doing that.
Exactly. You just need to walk about, say we're doing it for number 3. Done.
Right, Stu. Quickly, who's your dark horse for the FC?
Dark horse. I'm going to go the other way, despite saying that maybe Trevor Lawrence was nervous in that other match, and who knows what will happen when he hits the playoffs and is facing up against the rifle that is Justin Herbert. I'm going to say the Jacksonville Jaguars, also for the same reason that I could see a world where they beat the Chiefs, because the Chiefs have flattered to deceive this year. Like, anytime they've come up against a good team in the FC, i.e. the Bills or the Bengals, they've lost. So I could see maybe the Jaguars get hot. If they beat the Chargers, then they come in, and then if they go up against the Chiefs, they could make it to the championship game. I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl. I still think they can't go that far. But for hot teams, the Bills are hot, and I think the Bengals are as well. And again, same thing. Our team seems to be rallying around this whole thing of the league was clearly all against us, because why the hell did that coin flip thing go down when they could? I mean, they could have made the situation okay just by going, you know what we're going to do? Any of these situations has to be a coin flip, not just, oh, well, if the Bengals are playing the Ravens and the Bengals lose, then yeah, it's going to be a coin flip for who's the home game. So, you know, we've now won that game. So why isn't a coin flip between us and the Bills? Instead, we have to go to the Bills.
Right, I'll quickly throw mine in then, since Studs isn't here. Dark horses, yeah, I think the Jags. I think everybody's in agreement there. They're getting hot and they're going for it. But my hot team is the Bengals. I think they're really coming into the form. I know, don't worry. I'm not here to I think you've just got to look at Joe Cool. He's just playing some amazing football there now, and he's looking at a really solid team. Cold, I'm going with the Chiefs. You know, again, I think they've started. I've said in this podcast a few times. They're still obviously they're winning games and stuff, but they're not just blowing teams out like they used to before. They're just starting giving up some plays. So we'll track that as it goes. Right, NFC, we'll quickly run through the exact same sort of setup. Eagles number 1 overall, no asterisks there. 2 49ers, 3 Vikings, 4 the Bucks, 5 Cowboys, 6 the Giants, 7 the Seahawks. A bit more of a mad conference, this one. So, so quickly, Stu, best 7 teams in?
I would like to see the Lions in instead of the Seahawks, mainly because, and it's the opposite way with the Dolphins, because the Seahawks are the same as the Dolphins in terms of they started hot, then they dropped off for the reasons we discussed earlier. The Lions, they were just fun to watch and they were a great team. But apart from that, yeah, I would say the rest of them deserve to be there, going by the way the conference was overall. Even the Bucks.
Brian, what about you?
This is really crappy. I'm just agreeing. Genuinely, that is exactly the same.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Studs. There's a message just showing up.
Is it a door to the
studio?
studio?
Me back in.
In the door, let
He's all just shitting on the Chiefs. You know what
yeah, no, Lions, I would like to see them in. They've been great fun all year.
Here he is.
I heard everything, Taylor, and I can't believe I wasn't even here to stick up for my team. Brutal.
Yeah, Lions are the team I'd like to see in. In terms of hots, colds, or the rest of it, a dark horse first. I'm going to just bottle it. Dark horse, Tampa. It's Brady.
I don't think it's a dark horse.
Yeah, is it really a dark horse? Is it ever a dark horse if it's Tom Brady? Anything can happen with Brady. Hot team, Niners. Right, yeah, Niners seem like they're just taking any challenges and leathering them.
Big McCurdy.
Cold, probably the Seahawks. Just for inconsistency's sake.
Studs.
NFC's good because it's nutty.
If you hear catch up, since you missed the FC.
Right, I'll stick to the NFC. I'll come back to your boys' crazy comments in a few minutes.
We had no time for that.
NFC, 49ers. I called it earlier on in the season. I basically said Eagles 49ers for the championship game for me. I've not seen anything to change that. I think CMC's only made the 49ers better and their defense is elite. So it's really, and then the Eagles have been doing what they've done all season pretty much. Jalen Hurts has been destroying teams. Their defense is good as well. I really do think that's going to be a cracking game if it gets to that stage. Cold teams, I'm going to go Tampa. I'm going to go complete opposite for Brian. I don't want to see them anywhere near any championship games. I think they've been rotten to watch all year. They've been banged up, but
Playoff Lenny.
Playoff Lenny, who's
full of pizza.
he's done nothing all season, so I'm not expecting any different.
He's not called regular season Lenny.
Nah. Listen, there's teams. I mentioned it with the Ravens before my computer died. I don't want to see the Ravens. I don't want to see any more Tampa Bay. I think they've been honking all season. And these are mental to see the Chiefs of
right, Stu.
Hot and cold. I'm going to say hot going into this. Obviously, the Eagles are liquid hot. Like, they're so good. Devonta Smith, another fantastic wide receiver. Like, that draft class, fantastic. Him, Waddle, and then obviously Chase with us. all you couldn't really miss, like with any of those three guys, kind of thing. They've all turned out. Cold, I'm going to say Seahawks just because they've went off the boil like the past little while. Now,
Geno's fallen off.
Dark Horse, though, how do we feel about the G-Men?
No,
I think they've got a chance against the Vikes. The Vikes are so hot.
I mean, that's the thing is, like, I think the G-Men, the Vikes fans, Smudge on that's not going to like it, but I could see the G-Men doing in the Vikes.
Could you see the G-Men doing in the Niners?
I think if you take away the Eagles and the Niners and you look at the other five remaining teams and you go, right, who there would you actually fancy? Yeah, probably
Cowboys of them.
Yeah.
But, really? Cowboys? With Dak INT, as he's changed his name to? Since
but when you've got I have no idea which coach said it. It might have been Belichick or whoever it was said that it's defense wins championships, and the Cowboys' defense is elite.
I know, but their offense can't score.
Elite? You sure?
They let up 26 to how is it?
Elite. They're good. They're good.
Very good. Fine, I'll take back elite. They are a very good defense.
The Niners' defense is elite.
Niners is elite.
Right. Aye. Okay, so if you take the Niners and the Eagles out, the best defense of what's left is clearly the Cowboys.
26 points and the rest against the Commanders. So
Commanders aren't as bad as people have been saying.
Who you comparing the Cowboys to? You compare them to the G-Men's defense, the Vikings defense, the Bucks defense, which is probably the one that's closest to the Seahawks defense. Well, you can put Seahawks, Vikes, G-Men's defense in the bin. Bucks is the only one that challenges them from a defensive perspective.
Exactly.
Of those five.
I just want to see. I just want to see Murdo happy. That's right. I just want to see Murdo happy. That's why I'm going G-Men.
Enjoying the G-Men this year, but
Stu's got a trade in the Watson fantasy. He's trying to get more Murdo's good side.
He's got no picks left in Dynasty. There's no point in getting a trade with him.
Right. I'm wrapping this up. Right, I needed a key an hour ago. Right, this live stuff does not help me that at all. Right, let's finish it there. Wrap up. That's an hour and 20. That's plenty. I've had enough of listening to you boys talk. No, that was crack. Good laugh as ever, guys. Right, quick. Quick, Stu. Final thought.
My final thought. Go Bengals. Good day.
Studs.
The Chiefs will be in the championship game. Bottom line. And the Chiefs will be in the Super Bowl. Against
seriously.
Roll on postseason. I can watch the Super Bowl this year again. School holidays are falling at the right time, so I am buzzing for a bit of postseason. Then roll on coaching hires.
Brian wants to win the postseason again.
Do another drunken pod. What can go wrong?
Postseason? We don't win the postseason. We win the preseason. Get it right. We win the off-season.
I'm going to mute you in a minute if you don't shut up. No, it was a pleasure, lad. Thoroughly enjoyed that. And thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rating, and a follow. Again, love to hear from everybody. So find us on social media. We're on Twitter at Irn-Cru, Instagram at grid_iron_crew, and we're on YouTube as well. So find us there. Drop us any questions and get involved. And the crew will be back on Thursday night to preview the Super Wildcard weekend. We cannot wait. I hope you all have a cracker, and thanks very much.